This morning, Donald Trump tweeted at now former head of the FBI, James Comey, and I would call it a barely veiled threat at best against him. Said James Comey better hope that there are no tapes, in quotation, I don't know what that means, of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. So theoretically, I mean, it's not even really a theory anymore that James Comey could eventually testify as a now private citizen in this matter. I mean, people in the Senate have already said we still want him to come in to testify. So he's a future witness in this investigation. The president of the United States is threatening him with revealing secret information if he speaks about what he knows.
So already in 24 hours, he's done obstruction of justice by admitting on NBC News that he fired James Comey because of his Russia investigation, and witness tampering by threatening a witness publicly that might testify against him.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's a goner. He's not smart enough to carry out any effective, not even a conspiracy, a cover up. Self-defense. I mean, the guy can't do self-defense. He keeps punching himself in the face.
So to me, that's by the way, well, a couple things. One, who else? James Comey better hope there are no tapes. Who else would know? Like, they would be your tapes.
Yeah.
So you better
There's
hope.
only 2 people at the dinner.
I better hope that there are no tapes. Well, did you record it? Yeah. Well, then there are tapes, or you didn't, and there are no tapes. Because you think he's so dumb, and as you know, I think he's dumber than you think he is, and that's.
You think so? I don't think that's possible.
Well, that's why
let's do a poll on it.
But that's why I did the bet with you. That's why I kept losing money. I just thought his brain dead incompetence would kill him earlier, right?
Oh, in the political process.
Yeah. Like I got you, but if you don't think he can orchestrate a conspiracy, that to some extent. I think that's why that when this Russia thing ever gets formally investigated, there may be some disappointment because there may not be any collusion that involves Trump and Russia. There will be overwhelming evidence, as we know there is, and hope to be publicly revealed, of Russia's effort to influence the election. That part is unquestionably true, and it's just possible that it strikes me that that it's going to work out. It couldn't have worked out better for Russia. That this, of course, because they want to sow seeds of discontent in the West, they want to weaken NATO, that's their plan.
Yeah.
And here we are, it's like they're like, this has been so fabulously perfect. Like we wanted to make it so people didn't trust Hillary, who we thought was going to win, and that would weaken her with investigation. It's done more than we could possibly have hoped.
Yeah. So look, let me just say one quick thing about that, which is that I think the one thing that Russia wants, they still haven't gotten, the one that they want the most, which is to lift the sanctions so that they can make that giant $500 billion deal with ExxonMobil. That's why Rex Tillerson's our Secretary of State. That's the deal. But now that might be super hard to prove, no matter how true it is, and no matter how many financial records you have of Trump benefiting financially from the Russians, which certainly exists because he did. His sons have admitted they've done deals with the Russians. Eric Trump did on the golf course. Donald Trump Jr. talked about it in 2008, about how the Russians keep investing in them. So we know that there's a financial dealings back and forth, and he probably owed them untold amounts of money, et cetera. But to say, okay, he got money from the Russians, and the Russians colluded and wanted the sanctions lifted, so that is as hard to prove as it can get. But luckily, we don't have to worry about it because Trump is monstrously stupid. So he will do things like obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and he will commit perjury approximately 280 times. So that will be enough for people to go, you gotta go, son, because we know you actually did it. Even if we can't prove with certainty that it was for money, we've got your perjury, witness tampering, obstruction of justice. You gotta go because you're gonna cost the Republicans every seat they have.
Well, another thing, these tapes, I mean, what he talked about was that he talked to Comey to make sure he's not being investigated, and that is also illegal. Like he admitted that he talked to the investigator to make sure he's not being investigated. What I would love and what would be hilarious if Comey just had enough, like you threatened him and he's a private citizen. Now mind you, this guy's the head of the FBI, right? He's younger, better shape, knows how to fight. What if he just stepped up, said, "What, you want some of me? Right now, you want some of me? You threatening me?" That would be hilarious and not outside of the realm of possibility in this insane show for Comey to just literally step up and whip Donald Trump's ass.
And Comey's 6'8". He's nothing to joke with.
I've heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so maybe they settle it in the ring.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just
Vince McMahon,
I better not.
Brings him in, a little WWE action. Royal Rumble?
I have a theory though why he referenced secret tapes out of nowhere. I mean, he's talked about tapes before, about the wiretapping and all that, and always in quotation marks. I think it's his poor read of history. He talked recently about Andrew Jackson and the Civil War. Learned nothing from his study of Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson taped people in the White House.
Exactly. He's ahead of the game there.
DVDs.
And so I think what happened is he fired Comey. Everybody compared it to Nixon, obviously. I think he wikied Nixon, read it briefly, and learned all the wrong lessons. I think he read something about secret tapes. He's like, okay, I can fill that in. I can talk about secret tapes. And the reason I believe this is that it goes one step farther into loyalty pledges. So we find out about a dinner meeting that Trump had with Comey. Now Trump says that Comey came to him wanting a dinner meeting, begging for the dinner meeting so that he could keep his job. Other witnesses there and that have talked to Comey previously have said that's not actually the case.
It's inconceivable.
As they ate, the president and Mr. Comey made small talk about the election and the crowd sizes at Mr. Trump's rallies, which that's the most believable thing that I've ever read in my life. The president then turned the conversation to whether Mr. Comey would pledge his loyalty to him. By Mr. Comey's account, his answer to Mr. Trump's initial question apparently did not satisfy the president, according to those associates. Later in the dinner, Mr. Trump again said to Mr. Comey that he needed his loyalty. Mr. Comey again replied that he would give him, quote, honesty and did not pledge his loyalty. Mr. Trump pressed him on whether it would be, quote, honest loyalty. And Mr. Comey said, you will have that. And so he's got the secret tapes. He's got the behind the scenes pledges of loyalty. I think he's eventually going to say that he's not a crook.
I think this goes back to your Lord of the Rings theory, because didn't Golem have to pledge his loyalty to the precious? I really
kind of
think,
the Hobbits too.
I think you're right here.
James Comey, I think this is right. James Comey pledged loyalty. James Comey, we mentioned 6'8", would not play basketball with Barack Obama because he thought that created the appearance that they were too chummy and wanted to keep that separate. And now president asks him for loyalty. I'm sure Comey was thinking the entire time, how do I get out of this conversation?
So now let's go to line number 10,000 or whatever that we're on in the Trump administration. So at first they're like, Comey asked for the dinner. He wanted to make sure he still had his job. Comey associates point out that in order for Comey to ask for the dinner, he would technically have to ask through the deputy attorney general. Otherwise, the FBI director can't just ask the president to dinner. You've got to go through the proper channels. And of course, there's no record of the deputy attorney general being asked for the FBI, So it's an obvious, super obvious lie, right? And then Trump says, he told me 3 times that
I was not being investigated.
I was not being investigated. Okay, hey, schmuck of all schmucks, you're not supposed to ask the FBI director if he's investigating you. That's another problem, right? And so now he's like, well, I didn't ask him for a loyalty pledge. He's lying about that. But you just said earlier you asked him if he was investigating you. That's at a minimum, kind of asking him, hey, are you going to be loyal to me or are you going to investigate me? Yeah. He can't even keep his lies straight. He's a mess.
So does it ring?
He's not winning with this.
It rings true. Trump saying, pledge your loyalty to me. That sounds Trump.
Yeah, that sounds like
sounds right.
It's easy to believe he would do that you have to pledge loyalty to me or you're going to get fired or whatever,
Yeah, and even his friends say that that's the thing that he cares most about.
Right, yes.
For people who pledge loyalty to him.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're wondering, the FBI director does actually swear an oath of loyalty, but not to the president.
No, of course not.
To the Constitution.
You think the director of the FBI pledges loyalty to the freaking president? It's absurd. Nobody would think that.
Oh, Trump.
No, there's one person.
There's one person who thinks that. No, he has no idea about what our constitutional system is. He doesn't know.
Well, he said it's in the way. He said the Constitution gets in the way of him being an effective president. So he knows that there's some document with rules that gets in the way of him playing the game his own.
He should Wikipedia that.
He should, right? He should.
Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.